Thank you for joining us on News from the Heart. I'm Heather George, and I am sitting with Swami Chetanananda. Today, we would like to do a piece talking about the very tragic earthquake that has just happened in Nepal. Specifically, we know about Kathmandu, but there are many other locations affected, and quite a high death rate already, and that number is climbing. Mostly Swamiji, you've been living in this part of the world that just was affected for nearly a couple decades, it seems.
Yeah, almost, I think 18 years. We've had the same little ashram in Kathmandu. We still have it. It is totally okay. It's outside the city, halfway up Shivapuri mountain. And, the house is okay. Everybody we know is okay there. There are two 15th century Hindu temples, a Vishnu temple built up there and some other temple built up there that were same period, same style, maybe built at exactly the same time. And they were, one of them had completely lost its top. I mean, not just its, half of it had fallen. So. And the other thing we don't know, they didn't show any of the buildings or, up on top of there besides that, and there's some very early buildings up there. Of course, the problem will be that there's no water in Kathmandu Valley. Because of the population levels, the water has been basically taken out of the ground to an extraordinary degree, and there is no more potable water available in Kathmandu. The water they pull from the ground has such high mineral levels in it that it's not drinkable and almost not usable for anything else. So water in Kathmandu has been, for probably the last decade, primarily been trucked in from out of town. It comes primarily from the Narayani River, which is you have to drive over a pass, not a big pass, high pass, but still it's a pass, and then down into the river gorge. The pass is at Tankot. I cannot imagine that the road from Tankot out to Narayan Ghat, which runs along the Trishuli and the Narayani rivers, is still existing, and that is the major highway that connects India and Nepal. I think it must have, because it regularly collapses under the pressure of the monsoon, I cannot imagine that it exists at all by now.
Earthquake. With disasters like this, there is some general advice I think that most people will get. I hope that everybody wants to help in the world. I found from my experience it's an immediate reaction to whatever media gets put in front of our faces for the first few days or weeks of a disaster. And I see everybody's hearts and minds rally around that. Part of why I want to put this out right now is because I think a lot of people will be out on the internet looking for not only information which you just gave us, which is beautiful, detailed insight, but also what they can do.
Well, I think the most important thing to me probably is to wait a little while till the dust clears and really see who actually is helping people in Kathmandu. The biggest problem with INGOs, international non-governmental organizations, which are, the not-for-profits that do work in the world, the biggest problem with them, particularly in Asia where I'm familiar with it, I'm not so familiar in Africa, but the biggest problem in Asia is that only about 2% of the money that you donate to an INGO ever reaches the actual people that it's intended to help, and that would be 2%. And that is because the charity business in Asia has, sort of become a place where the local politicians can easily squeeze graft out of organizations, and they do, which then of course attracts a particular response from and kind of person to work in those organizations, which is completely suspect. And you know, at the end of the day, what is really happening is the politicians and the administrators of the organizations are making money, and the help that is intended to be given by the donors is completely minimalized. So
I agree with you. I don't know about the 2% statistic, but I know more about Africa and Haiti than I do India in this case, and the statistics in general with nonprofits in general across the board have met with these kind of challenges with what percentage actually gets to people.
Well, especially, you know, I saw a piece the other day on Haiti where there were some huge new buildings that were built by NGOs in Haiti. You know, to what end, I have no idea, but they were surrounded by people who had houses before the Haiti earthquake and still are living in abject squalor by now.
And this is the other thing that I had mentioned before. People rush to try and help right now, but then when it comes to the attention that these places need in the long term after such a tragic event like what's just happened. I mean, Nepal has one of the lowest numbers, highest poverty numbers in the world.
It's the poorest country in Asia by a long shot, and the reason why it's the poorest country in Asia is because you have the most crooked politicians in the world, in Asia, in Kathmandu. These people will, you know, basically the way I describe it is, if you are a good politician, then you are a good farmer. You understand if you're going to take the milk from the cow, you have to feed the cow. So the Indian and Pakistani politicians, anyway, up until now, have pretty much understood they've got to give something back to allow the populace to live on so that they can continue over the long term to steal from them. But in Nepal, these people are, well, they're intellectually suspect because they will steal an old shirt off a poor man. They steal everything. They have no sense of propriety or whatsoever, and they are voracious.
And they have no foresight, apparently.
None.
And
so their country is just continuing to get poorer and poorer and poorer. And, you know, Nepal's problems are many because also, you know, being a landlocked country, it has no access, no easy access to outside help. There is only one big airport in the whole country. The local, you know, airlines or air carriers, their planes are all, you know, only marginally maintained and, you know, surprisingly still in the air. And there is no gasoline, there is no kerosene, there is no cooking gas that comes from in Kathmandu. It all is trucked in from India. And by now, the major national road it comes on is completely destroyed. And there is a secondary road there that comes up from Gorakhpur in India. But that road must also be terribly, terribly damaged from the pictures I've seen just of the streets in Kathmandu. So, you know, there will be no way for people to cook. There will be no water. There is going to be very little food because there is no way for the food to get from the villages now to the city. And it's going to be a very challenging circumstance. I don't know how it's going to be handled by, you know, the Indian government, who is the primary, probably logistical support person. And we still have, you know, lots of people that we know, including, by the way, I didn't mention that Lama Wangdu is totally safe, but his monastery is, I'm told, badly damaged. So, you know, I don't know how all this is going to play out just yet, since this is only a 24-hour-old tragedy, but I do know that there will be a significant need and it's, important to be thoughtful about where you send your money.
And it's going to be a need for a long, long time. So rather than rush with our money and our support, especially over here where we're so far removed from the groundwork that's going on, I think I hear Swamiji encouraging all of us to put our money aside. If you have a desire to help, do your research and take your time rather than rushing in to throw money at this problem.
Indeed.
Okay, thank you very much. We will provide updates, especially as we get more information from the ground with our community, and if we find ways that you can really help, we'll let you know. Thank you.